This is a special bonus episode of CRM Audio, the Dynamic CRM podcast, live from the Hitachi Solutions Customer Conference in Greenville, South Carolina. This is Joel Lindstrom, roving reporter for CRM Audio, here at the 8th annual Hitachi Solutions Customer Conference in beautiful Greenville, South Carolina. I've found the Hobbit. Hello, Mr. Hobbit.
Hello, sir. I have emerged from the rubble.
How are you enjoying South Carolina?
You know, I like it.
I should say beautiful and historic Greenville, South Carolina.
That is correct. It's very, it is a nice cool weather, away from the wet burlap that is Tampa. I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
And this is kind of our first face-to-face podcasting experience, so that's kind of a historic event, too.
It is, and it's not as uncomfortable as other podcasts that I've done in person.
So, what are you speaking about?
So tomorrow I'm talking about business intelligence data visualizations that we've done.
So you have the last session of the last day of the conference.
Yes.
So I don't know if they thought this, but I'm imagining they thought, okay, we need to go out on a high note. You're going to be the last thing that many people here remember from the conference.
Yes. Yes, I'd like to think of it that way. It took a little bit of pressure off. I'm not going to lie, being the last session and the last day, but I'm looking forward to it. I know quite a few customers that are planning on attending. So
what are
stuff.
I know this isn't a visual medium, but what are some of the super cool things that you did that you're going to be showing?
Stuff like showing a section availability heat map of the stadium, so that they can understand where available seating is for potential group sales and stuff like that. It's some really neat stuff we did to really optimize their sales processes.
Well, another thing I should mention is I'm glad you lived through the last episode. That was a little hairy. But now that you've had a little bit more time to think about it, is there anything you've seen in the 2016 stuff or heard about that has you excited?
The deeper Office 365 integration, like the Immersive Excel, some of the Power BI capabilities, I really think there's a lot of potential there. I got to dig deeper into it, to be honest, but I'm a big fan of not being so dependent on the Outlook add-in, and being able to do more tracking outside of Outlook, and the Delve functionality is really, really cool. I like not being so dependent on that documents link for the only source of documentation that I can find.
Yeah, I was in one of my sessions today. It wasn't even really about this, but somebody asked a question about some of the alternate tracking methods. And I said, well, I can show you. And it almost changed the topic of the presentation from what we were talking about to the email tracking session.
Yeah, that Outlook add-in can be great, and it can be a source of frustration for customers. So I've been on both sides of that and seen a lot of really cool things we've done, and just some idiosyncrasies of the plugin. So I'm glad to see alternative tracking methods.
I've tracked down two of our guests from previous episodes, Matthew Anderson and James Bowen. It's been a great conference. You've both been doing exciting sessions. First question for you, Matthew, is why are you dressed like a Jedi?
Well, I'm dressed like a Jedi because earlier today we had the Become a CRM Data Jedi session where we went through how your average user can use out-of-the-box tools to come up with great visualizations and great analytics for their data.
And so do you have to, as a Jedi, do you have to go like make visualizations appear out of a swamp or something?
You don't have to. I mean, you can try to use the Force, but we focused on stuff that would be approachable for the masses. So,
are you showing any of your immersive Excel tips?
Yeah, absolutely. We hit some of that in the Data Jedi session today, and we'll also be hitting that in an upcoming session where we go through the Office 365 and CRM integration. So, good stuff.
How about you, James? What sessions you had?
So we had a marketing and sales alignment session. We went through some marketing automation technologies and talked about business use cases from the marketing and sales organizations.
All right. And you chose not to wear a costume.
I opted out of that for my session. That's correct.
Wise choice on your part, I must say.
For what it's worth, I think 99% of attendees opted out of wearing the costume.
We have the 1% outlier here.
I've gotten a lot of looks, but I think most of them good.
Matthew fell for that old wear a costume email. All right. So what other? I guess now that 2016 is out of NDA and whatever, have you taken a look and what is the things you're most excited about coming up, either marketing or whatever?
Yeah, so I'm going to take this one first because I'm so excited about the upcoming functionality around Immersive Excel, in particular around the data templates of CRM.
I haven't seen a lot about that. A little bit. What is that going to bring me?
So what the data templates let you do is those types of things where, after you have a file that you've worked with in Excel, you've put together those charts, you've done your pivot tables or whatever that manipulation of the data is going to be, you can store that back inside of CRM as a template. So the next time you have a list that you want to export, it can export directly into that template and have all those same visualizations, calculations, and all that.
And I actually talked about that a little bit in the session that Scott Sewell, Captain Redlaces, and I did about going from on-premise to online. And where it came up there is one of the challenges today is reporting, because your T-SQL complex reports won't work. You have to go to fetch, which sometimes has some limitation joins. I really see the Immersive Excel templates being the answer to that.
No, in a big way. I mean, in a previous life, I was the person tasked with going in and putting together those types of Excel models coming out, and it was drawing from different data sources, doing a lot of manual work that we couldn't automate inside of CRM without some sort of customization. And I look at the time I could have saved, and frankly, for the people on the other end of it, the salespeople that I was supporting, how they could have gotten their own version of that data, and as things update in CRM, being able to get it with all of those updates would have been a huge advantage for them. So super exciting.
Right, and plus the ability for it to work on mobile with the deep linking to the mobile apps for Excel. How about you, James? Any cool marketing stuff you're excited about now?
Yeah, very much. So I think for Dynamics marketing, the biggest piece is going to be the SMS capability, and kind of extending that omnichannel for the campaign piece inside of marketing.
Yeah, so I mean that's something a lot of people look for. I'm here with Daniel Kai. Daniel is with Kingswaysoft. He's also one of my MVP buddies. How are you doing, Daniel?
Good, very good. Thank you.
And welcome to South Carolina.
Yeah, thank you. This is a beautiful place to come.
So you were telling me that version 6.1 of the Kingswaysoft adapters have been released. What's some of the new interesting stuff in 6.1?
So one of the big features that we brought into this release is we added the support for update of using alternate key, which is a new feature that was introduced in CRM 2015 Update 1. The other feature that we brought into this release is when you switch the connection manager or action type, you don't lose your mapping anymore in your destination component, which is give you a lot of convenience in terms of when you have to make such kind of change. In our previous releases, you have to start from scratch.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I know many users have been frustrated if they have to repoint to a different environment or something, and having to remap everything.
Yeah.
Now with the alternate keys you were saying, so if I'm understanding that right, for those who don't know alternate keys, let's say I have an account and I want to match based on account number for a lookup field. That lets me, those types of scenarios, alternate keys makes a lot easier, right?
Exactly. You don't have to have the ID in terms of updating the CRM record. You could use the alternate key as the primary definition for your update action.
Are you seeing that improves the performance of integrations where you've got to resolve lookup keys so you can do less round trips?
Exactly. That saves you the query against the CRM server to find out which ID it is for the particular account number, for instance.
Okay. Are there any gotchas you found in working with the alternate keys, or any limitations?
It has worked very robustly, and the only limitation is that I would not say that's a limitation. It's kind of a requirement. So you would have to, the alternate key has to be unique.
Okay. So one thing I've used them for outside of that is if you want a hard-coded duplicate detection, like you want to make sure that you can only have one record that has that key. It'll prevent you from creating duplicates. But one thing I think is challenging is if you have an existing deployment with records, if there are two records in it that have the same, will make the same alternate, like composite keys, that's a problem.
Yeah, you would have to take care of that constitution before you actually enable the alternate key.
Right. So what other things, because I see you're also made advancements in the like Parature and Dynamics marketing. What other outside of just CRM, what other adapters are on the horizon for you?
We have brought in a number of new adapters, including some marketing solutions. Like we made a new release for Dynamics marketing, and also we have a integration solution for HubSpot and Marketo.
Okay.
And also we have brought in another integration solution for OneDrive. And we have revamped our integration solution for SharePoint and directory service, which becomes more robust and has a better performance.
What's the use case that you're seeing for the Dynamics Marketing Connector? How is that typically being used maybe to work around some limitations in the product?
So we try to give you a unified user interface to facilitate integration for Dynamics Marketing, which is similar to what we offer for CRM, so which makes the integration a significantly easier job than for your day-to-day development.
Okay, great. That sounds like exciting stuff. I'm here with Ivan Kurtev. Ivan is one of our head technical architects. He's also pretty active on Twitter in the CRM community. And Ivan and I just did a session about how enterprise customers should keep up with the rapid release cycle. Ivan, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing with enterprise companies keeping up with the now seems like everyday new features coming out?
There are several of them. Number one, enterprise customers typically will have a more complex business process that is hard to support with out-of-the-box features. So typically some additional configuration or customization will be needed in order to make the feature work for them. And in addition, a big one that we talked about is typically end-user training. And even though a feature may be available to you out of the box and will support your business process as it is out of the box, you will still need to do the analysis to determine how you're going to use it, and then you're going to need to train your user base on how to use the new feature. And with enterprise customers, typically the training processes are longer, the number of users you need to reach is larger or distributed, so that takes a little bit of time. In addition to that, there may be dependencies to other applications in the enterprise portfolio of the customer that make it harder for them to upgrade to new versions.
Yeah, we talked about kind of the who, what, why kind of thing about the rapid release cycle. And one of the things we talked about was kind of the things that are driving people to upgrade more frequently. One of the things is mobile. Like today is the 17th of September when we had the session, and today iOS 9 came out, and so many large customers have people with smartphones using CRM now and tablets that they see that light and it just beckons them to install that upgrade. But that's a huge challenge for the enterprise company to keep up with. One of the other things we talked about, like some of the way the product is being enhanced. It seems like back in CRM 4 or CRM 2011, you would get you'd only have an upgrade every 2 years, so 2 or 3 years, so you would have more fully featured features added, where now it seems like we're getting more incremental, smaller features that are grown. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, so a lot of times Microsoft will put the framework for a new feature and release it first. Again, they're looking to go with a more agile release strategy on their end. They're releasing the framework for the feature, and then they enhance it subsequently. And a lot of times that happens based on feedback from customers, which is one reason why it's important to sometimes jump early on those features. Maybe at least test them in your test environment, and then submit feedback to Microsoft talking about your business scenarios, about how you believe the feature will be improved. We see that feedback typically get a lot of attention from Microsoft.
Like, for example, business process flow, when they were released in Polaris, nobody used them. They were kind of a toy, a cute toy, but we couldn't really customize them. Where now we've gone several releases, we had the branching, we had a lot of other new features. You can control it more with JavaScript. Mobile's another great example where now we're even getting the ability to export to Excel on mobile, which is unheard of, and manage SharePoint documents and Office 365 groups and all that good stuff. So what were your points about, so we talked about the why and the challenges. What were some of the recommendations for an enterprise customer who has these headaches and they want to, but how can they make their environment easier to stay up with the current, with the rapid release cycle?
Well, one of our recommendations is if you can go online, that certainly helps. Customers who are online typically tend to have customizations that are in line with the recommendations in the SDK, and they're easier to upgrade to the new features. That makes their upgrade typically less painful. The new features are much more readily typically accessible to online customers, so that helps. In addition to that, the next thing we talked about is when you design your solution, try to keep your customizations in check and do not over-customize the system with complex customizations or unsupported customizations, which will then prevent you from upgrading. Unsupported customizations, in the past, maybe you didn't have to touch them for a couple of years or more. Now, if you're trying to upgrade every 6 months, the overhead of those customizations is much greater, and the value that you lose by not being able to upgrade is much greater, so they're just not worth it these days.
And that applies to the third-party ISV solutions as well. I made the example of C360, where back in the CRM3 days, everybody used their stuff for edit grids and relationship managers and things like that. I believe Scott Sewell, Captain Redlaces, actually worked for them. But subsequently, when CRM4 came out and IFD was introduced, they didn't support that for a long time, and that held a bunch of clients back. We've also had clients who use things like the Miller-Hyman sales add-on that, when about 6-8 months after 2013 came out, they didn't have a 2013 version, so it held people back on the 2011 version. So and even supported stuff like Silverlight, keep in mind, if you use something like that, you're making a choice that will make your future upgrades harder.
Right. So the things that we talked about there, number one, talk to the ISV that you're considering, understand what are their plans to stay current. Are they participating in the preview programs and looking as soon as possible to upgrade their solution to be compatible with the new versions of the product? And also make sure that the solution is implemented in a way that is in line with the recommendations in the SDK, and it's something that's easily upgradable. Typically, ISV solutions that are built to support CRM Online are easier to upgrade to newer versions.
All right. Well, I know you got to go catch your plane to Florida. One last question. With you and Sean, the CRM Hobbit, and Chris Cognetta, all there in Florida, what makes Florida such a wealth of CRM brain power?
Well, it's probably the warm weather in the summer.
I guess. I don't know. That CRM experts and crazy people is what I associate with Florida.
Yeah, I think we're, over time, we're starting to, gain critical mass over the crazy people, or maybe add to them.
I'm here with Captain Redlaces, Scott Sewell. Hello, Captain.
Hello, hello.
Or Commandante Redlaces, I call you sometimes. So, what are you talking about?
Well, the first session we covered moving from on-premise to online and talking about some of the advantages and disadvantages and some of the challenges and ways to work through those challenges. That was our first session.
Yeah, I did that one with you. So what were some of the challenges we talked about? That was yesterday. I forgot already.
Actually, the biggest challenge was I could not speak clearly. My voice was going, but that's a smaller challenge. Some of the challenges we talked about were, just the The advantages of it is the availability and the consistency and the improved upgrade process and the ways that works forward, and the advantages to the customer that way. And just getting rid of the headache of managing servers locally.
We kind of went back in the time machine and talked about how, like 2011 when CRM Online first started, that it was mainly small customers, small footprint, 50 users or less kind of thing. Where now, like, our biggest deployments are CRM Online now.
My two big enterprise projects that I've done recently, the one I'm currently on is a large investment bank in New York, highly secure, very sensitive about security, and they did all the research and they decided that CRM Online was where they wanted to go because of those advantages. My other enterprise customer is a large professional services organization. They also chose to take about 1,000 consultants online with CRM Online just because of the worldwide availability that they had that way.
Yeah, we talked about some of the challenges. One was migration, and like for a large customer with a lot of data, moving your data there is a challenge because it's a migration. But we talked about things that you can do. One of them was that you can, any company that's used CRM for years always has some kind of junk in their
trunk. Is that what you're saying?
No, junk in their CRM trunk.
Okay.
So what we recommended was set up some bulk delete rules, clear out data or solutions you don't need, make it simple, that kind of thing. And
the reality is, as you look at an organization today, you're not the same organization you were when you implemented CRM 5 years ago or 3 years ago. The organization has changed. Some of CRM has probably changed, and some of it, there's probably some leftovers left behind that's no longer relevant to the organization you are now or the organization you see yourself becoming. So taking this as an opportunity as a way of cleaning up, just normalizing your data, getting it standardized, and getting it, taking a fresh look at what the quality is.
So that was the last session. What other sessions do you have at the conference?
So my next session will be tomorrow. This morning I did a sponsor session with RelSci, Relationship Sciences, and talking about how that their tool for finding and discovering contact information and contact relationships outside of CRM is a tremendous complement to CRM, so that your team is looking at, and this is really focused on individuals who are dealing with CEO, board level memberships, those types. It's a really interesting solution. Relationship science is that, and on Friday I'm going to walk through the reporting smorgasbord. And you got to say that like the Swedish chef, but reporting smorgasbord, we're going to talk about, exactly, all the different pieces of the reporting options that are available to us in CRM, and where those can be used, and how to think a little bit beyond the idea of, I need a report, just go build a SSIS or SSRS report. We'll talk about some of the different ways in which you can get users to be able to be self-sufficient in their data acquisition. The second session, we're going to do the XRM Superheroes utility belt and talk through several of the utilities that are free and available, and how they can help make some of the processes of managing a CRM implementation much easier.
And if you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
I don't know. It definitely wouldn't be coming up with things on the spot.
I would be. Mine would be. I'd be the summarizer. I would take something and just summarize it, and they'd say, "Thank you, summarizer."
That's excellent. That would be useful.
I'm here with Jason Balliet with Thunderhead. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Joel. How are you?
Tell us a little bit about what Thunderhead is, and kind of what the value you bring is.
Yeah, Thunderhead's a customer engagement platform. So essentially, we're using our science to be listening to customer behavior. We're taking that customer behavior and we're mapping it to the idea of a customer managed journey. If you hear what people are talking about in the marketplace today, a lot of people are talking about customer journeys, but they're talking about it in a very static way.
Okay.
Thunderhead really looks at that in a dynamic nature, the way customers really interact with the brand. skipping stages, starting at different life cycle stages, and we use all of that behavioral piece attached to system of record data like CRM and transactional data to create the most in-the-moment profile and take in-the-moment actions to have the most one-to-one and personalized conversations with customers across the channels that they're interacting on.
So you're doing what? You're monitoring which are our web properties you're accessing?
Owned assets, web properties, mobile applications, calls into the call center, point of sale systems, any in-store types of things, maybe interactions through in-store activity through iBeacon, really looking at what areas you're in, really looking at that to predict what types of products and services you're interested in today so we can have the most up-to-date and in-the-moment conversation with you about what interests you today.
So this would be, I think, especially attractive to in a B2C scenario. Is it used in things like customer service a lot?
Yeah, so customer service is actually one of the very quick wins for a lot of organizations. If you think of people calling into the call center, they may have done a lot of activity. I think the metrics currently say that people do, 68% of their due diligence before they ever contact anyone for an actual sale or service. So they've done a lot of work on that. Having agents know what type of behavior and products you were showing interest in on all these different digital channels really allows them to get to the meat of what the reason you're calling, how they can service you very quickly and very personally.
CRM, a lot of times the R is kind of the weakest part there,
right?
Because you've got your customers, you've got people tracking activities, and we've all seen that sometimes is a weak point if your users aren't doing it right or aren't tracking everything, or you just have so much data you don't know how to make sense of this connection to this connection to this connection. We talked to them here, we had this support case here, we had this sale over here, but you don't know how to connect them. And so what you're doing is when I get a call from Bob Smith, a real-time profile's popping up showing me this is the history and the connections of how we're interacting with them.
Think of us as that thin veneer where we're bringing all these different silos of data together into one place. Where service and sales may be siloed from a internal app perspective, we're bringing that together to say we want to know what's going on across all those silos, and we want to present that to an agent in a way that they can leverage that information, again, to really have that deep personal relationship with their customer base.
And is that data then sent back to your servers, or where does that live?
So it's actually, it still lives in the system of record. So our whole idea is to be actionable and in the moment. So we pull it at the time we need it. We cache it for a period of time that's configured by customers. So for example, demographic data, which doesn't really change, can be cached for maybe 45 minutes, whereas transactional data, I might want to know every 5 minutes or every 1 minute if you've done something while you're waiting on hold. So, but we'll store it, we'll keep it in memory, but we will never store it. So we never store PII data as a SaaS solution, but we will go get it just in time to be as current as possible from that profiling perspective.
Right. So if somebody wants to find out more or get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, so website's www.thunderhead.com. We also have presence both in the U.S. and EMEA and APAC across the world. You can find contact information there, and be happy to speak to anyone about what advantages and value we can add to their solutions.
All right, so Mr. Hobbit, we got competing head-to-head sessions here. How do you think this is going to go down?
Historically speaking, I haven't been on the winning side of these things, but I'm hopeful.
Well, I wish you best of luck and close the sessions, close the conference strong.
I would say the same for you, but I really want more attendance than you do.
Stay hydrated.
You got it.
I'm here with Michael Dohr from MSCRM Add Ons, and MSCRM Add Ons has one of my favorite add-ons for CRM called the Documents Core Pack. In my opinion, it's what mail merge should be in CRM. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Joe. How are you doing?
I guess if somebody was, one of our listeners uses mail merge, but maybe isn't totally happy with it, and nobody is really totally happy with mail merge, what would you say? What does the Document Core Pack bring to their environment?
So Documents Core Pack, as you said, a lot of people are struggling with mail merge and CRM. And what we try with our tool is to, on one hand, make it very easy to create the reports in first place by basing everything on Microsoft Word, but also making it very easy to generate the documents later on for the users.
Right. And so, I mean, there's just a whole lot of areas. The biggest complaint I get about standard mail merge is the limitations on what fields you can access. So, for example, well, there are ways through the SDK to get to, say, related records. Let's go with a quote example. If I want a quote with related quote products, or I want an opportunity with related opportunity products, there are ways to do it, but it's very difficult.
So yeah, we solved that problem pretty much. So we allow the users to really browse throughout the whole metadata structure of CRM to really grab or resolve any relationship that exists and grab data from multiple relationships into one document.
And then another challenge is limitation in formats that you can do it, or limitations in destinations for it. So for example, if I do a mail merge, it will generate the documents and I can put it in an email, for example, but it's not nearly as automated as what yours are. What formats do you support besides Word?
So we do support a lot of file formats, of course, to be generated. Out of nature, PDF is one of the most common and most used formats for invoicing and quoting. But we also support, for example, HTML, so you can not just generate a quote as a document, but also generate email content, with the cool thing being that you can design the email templates inside Word too, which gives you a lot of rich opportunities to design templates.
Right. So when a question comes up in for example the Facebook forum, hey, I'd like to create a PDF form and send it to somebody. The only real out of the box option, or fairly out of the box, is really an SSRS report, or merging to a Word document, then manually saving as a PDF, then attaching to an email, which is a number of steps people don't want to do. As I saw yesterday, you can do it all in basically one step, right?
Exactly. So we have a lot of options, and those include sending an email, creating a PDF, and send the document off. So we're allowed to make configurations to make such processes a one-click scenario. So you can really create a configuration that exactly does what you just said, create a PDF file, attach it to an email, and shoot it off to a certain record inside CRM.
Right. So that's I guess the third thing besides the format is like the number of things you can do with it and the automation you can do with it. So, you can have a step that automatically emails to someone, prints it, and puts it in a SharePoint document library. Also, you can create the libraries or create the sites, right?
That is correct. So we see that SharePoint is coming up more often.
Okay.
Due to the SharePoint integration within Microsoft. So we saw the need that we have to have a very good integration with our document solution to SharePoint, and really allow to store the documents easily, create SharePoint locations, as you said,
right,
push them off to SharePoint.
And all of it is available as workflow steps too.
That is correct. So we don't just have this user-driven wizard that allows you to really make such processes very fast. With a one-click scenario, we allow to completely automate the document process by integrating into Microsoft processes, workflows.
And that opens up a lot of interesting side uses I see as well. So for example, if you want to have a workflow print something, or if you want to have a workflow create a SharePoint location, even if you're not putting a document in it right now, there are a lot of times people looking for that kind of automation that otherwise is very difficult custom programming.
More features around SharePoint and CRM.
And I believe you were telling me there's some really interesting things coming with the next release of the SharePoint tools. Can you share some of that?
That is correct. So we're working on a new add-on called the SharePoint tools, as you said, and we will add features like security synchronization from CRM to SharePoint, which is a big thing because right now with the out-of-the-box SharePoint integration to CRM, there's no way to set security on SharePoint, and you're somehow bypassing CRM security. So we will allow for synchronizing just in time from CRM to SharePoint to ensure only the people with access to the CRM record have access to the files on SharePoint.
And that's something that comes up very frequently, especially with enterprise clients, is that they want to have, they want to use SharePoint, but they have the concern, we secure these records inside CRM, but if somebody browses SharePoint, there's nothing preventing them because there is no out-of-the-box integration of security between CRM and SharePoint. How is that driven? I mean, how are you going to be handling that?
So it's the approach we're targeting is two things. On one hand, it's inside plugins inside CRM to catch certain
Okay.
events happening, but also there will be a service for synchronization purposes. Depends a little bit on whether it's CRM Online or not, and where you run into plugin limitations typically with CRM Online, where we would need a service. So it's not yet completely outlined, but that's the way we're going.
And what's the ETA for that being available?
We hope to bring the beta to the market around October, November this year.
Okay, great.
So hopefully beginning of next year there should be a release.
I naturally think of you as the Documents Core Pack people, but I know there's a lot of other stuff you have. What are your, I guess, other than Documents Core Pack, what are your most popular add-ons these days?
The fastest growing solution we have is what we call the attachment extractor.
Okay.
The reason for that is simply that, so what it does, it moves documents from a CRM database to an alternate storage, typically SharePoint, but can also be a file share or just a local drive you have.
Okay.
And the reason why it's important is that, especially as Microsoft is pushing the cloud a lot with CRM Online, there's a cost perspective to it, because you have to pay for CRM data storage, for database storage, and at the same time for SharePoint the costs are way less. It's way less expensive, so you can really
it's kind of the double whammy as technology has advanced. First of all, when you go to the cloud, CRM Online gets more expensive the more storage you use. Add to that mail attachment limits have vastly increased, in such as with Office 365 you can send a 35 megabyte file, and Gmail and all these, people are sending bigger and bigger files, and you consider I send you a file, you forward it to somebody else, they reply back with a revision. You can have one document eat up a gig of space before long.
That is correct, yeah. And to give you an example from our customers, attachments can make up really to 70% of the whole CRM database, so it's really
I would believe that. I was just looking at one that was a 300 gig database, and over 200 of it were attachments.
Yeah, something in that direction.
No, I think that's a must-have for anybody with a large, especially online environment. But even on premises, by getting those attachments out, your upgrades and things like that will be much easier because your database won't be so huge. If somebody wants to find out more about MSCRM add-ons, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
The most easy way, of course, is to browse to our website, www.mscrm-addons.com.
Okay.
There you will find information of all of our solutions, our offering.
Okay.
And then also contact information, of course.
All right. I'm here with Matthew Anderson, the CRM Jedi. Matthew, we just wrapped up our final session here about Office 365, and I just want to ask you a question. Compared to Sean Tabor's session, which we didn't see, whose do you think was better?
Well, I'm a little hesitant here because I don't want to have to deal with the wrath of Sean on this one. But I will say that we had quite an engaged group in this session here. We had some good questions that came up throughout the session. So, totally biased opinion, I think ours is better.
So I walked through the kind of the technical stuff with single sign-on and admin console and sandboxing and riveting sandbox discussion, I must say. And then you picked up with the wow factor with the immersive Excel and the OneNote. I thought it was a pretty good session.
Yeah, I thought so too. Good engagement from the group, lots of questions that came up. And it was interesting, a session specifically on Office 365. This is the last session time slot of the entire conference. And we had a large group in here. And when we asked around, it wasn't heavily people who are currently Office 365. It's people who are trying to make that decision. So
it was some people who were on it for email but not CRM and stuff. So I think it was good. So this concludes our coverage of the 2015 Hitachi Solutions Customer Conference. It's been a great way to kick off the fall conference season. Great to see everybody so excited about the product and where it's going with CRM 2016. Thank you to all our special guests who let me interview them, and I'm sure we'll talk to them and many others at the CRM UG Summit in a few weeks. This is Joel Lindstrom, Roving Reporter, signing off. This has been a special bonus episode of CRM Audio, the Dynamic CRM podcast, from the Hitachi Solutions Customer Conference in Greenville, South Carolina. Join us on Friday the 25th for our next normally scheduled episode.